Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Tampa podcast. Our podcast offers bold commentary on various subject matters with a laser-like focus on the truth. My name is Ray Tampa, and I'm the host of the Tampa podcast. We have in our studio Mr. Russell Cato, a retired educator with more than 40 plus years of experience here in Pinellas County, and Mr. Jamie Wilson III, a healthcare provider with more than 25 years of experience as a physical therapist, my dynamic co-host. Before we begin today's podcast discussion, we would like to extend our heartfelt condolences to the families and friends of all the deceased victims of Hurricanes Helene and Milton. Two, we are hoping for a speedy recovery of all who lost their homes, cars, and everything else. As a matter of practice, I tend to question community figures about their thoughts and opinions regarding subject matters of interest in our community. On Sunday, October 13, 2024, 1 week ago, I called a noted community figure who is a very involved community activist. And I posed this question to him. Quote, what are your thoughts about the state of affairs concerning the political and economic matters in our community? End of quote. We had a very healthy discussion for about 45 minutes following that question. He and I agreed on about 80% of our discussion. A few names were mentioned that confirmed that we were on the same page. The bottom line is, quote, we allegedly have a gang of grifters that have preyed on our community for years by securing tons of grant dollars without any discernible achievements benefiting the poor, the homeless, and the less educated members of our community. Toward the end of my conversation with my friend, he said, quote, Ray, there was an article written about this a little time ago. I'm going to send it to you, end of quote. The article he sent me was written by former Tampa Bay Times reporter Nathaniel Lash, published in July 2017. The title was a very eye-catching title, which reads, quote, $200 million later, why are St. Pete's poor neighborhoods, Black neighborhoods, worse off? End of quote. Please allow me to read that title again. $200 million later, why are St. Pete's poor Black neighborhoods worse off? End of quote. A lot of very interesting points were made in Mr. Lash's article. One statement pointed out that, quote, though the city helped steer hundreds of millions of dollars into the neighborhoods around Midtown since 1999, they remain stuck in poverty, end of quote. Now let's fast forward to the present year, 2024, and ask, has anything changed? Are the same people still getting the bulk of the dollars in the community and doing nothing of significance in the community? Let me say that again. The same people, from Mayor Baker's tenure to Foster's tenure, Kreisman's, and most definitely Welch's time in office, the same people. So at this time, I'm going to ask my co-host to let's engage in a discussion about what I just read and see if we can't come up with some adequate responses to the article that was sent to me. Who would like to go first?
Gentlemen, let me say this.
Okay, Russ.
I read this guy named is Lash, is that right?
Correct.
And I read this article. But there's another interesting article that we should pick up too. And this guy's named Mark Parker.
Mark Parker.
And what he did, he wrote an article on Black Exodus from St. Pete. People are leaving.
Okay.
Very good article.
I wish I had known ahead of time.
Yeah, very good
What
article.
did he say?
In that article, he brings out, or someone else brings out with him, is the idea of structural racism.
Okay.
You see, and he mentioned what is really happening. All the money was coming in, but people are leaving because the money never really reached the root of the people.
Right.
Excellent
right.
point.
Right.
Excellent
Right.
point.
Right.
And that's the
Right.
narrative
Yeah,
that we're going to focus on.
Right.
yeah,
The money's coming in.
Mhm.
Who's getting it and what are they doing with it?
exactly.
Right.
What are they doing with it? I guess we can all attest to the fact that they're not doing enough with it
Right.
because the poverty is lingering.
It's still
Right.
there.
Still lingering.
It's still
Correct.
there,
Jamie,
right.
what you have to
Right.
say
Because
here?
and that's evident with the food desert. You got vanishing grocery stores, even some of the soul food businesses right there in the neighborhoods. They're vanishing. Increased rent, and
Yeah.
and these. I feel like what you're saying is also connected to the investors. These outside investors are coming in. They're pushing residents out because they're making rents higher. Food higher, everything. And when you're in these low income neighborhoods, and I've had relatives in these low income neighborhoods, most of these people don't even have cars.
Truly.
So you are a slave to the little local store,
Yeah,
the little convenience store that's overpriced, that gets the bad meat,
right.
the bad this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's below standards that like a Publix, that type of meat. See, it's different standards. Some of these little food places on the corner, these little meat markets, they have different standards from what a Publix or
yes.
another grocery store as far as with their meat and produce and things like that. So you're subject to that because you don't have, the ability. You're stuck in that box.
Right.
So whatever's thrown at you, you're taking. And we have these leaders that are just doing nothing. And I'm talking about Black people. It ain't just like I know about Rick Baker and Kreisman, what they did and what went on. And it's sad to know that since reading that article from Lash, which was written in 2017, from 1999 to 2015, that's $210 million.
Yeah.
$210 million. And that's just to 2015. That we should have saw a difference even then. Just because you put some little plants and whatever in the middle of 16th Street and 19th Street, what the hell? That's nothing. That's nothing. You still have power. Poverty. You still have poverty. You ain't doing anything for the community. Nothing.
Good points, Jay. Good points. I would like to share with you all a conversation I had when I was invited to speak to a group of pastors.
That's it.
And I asked Michelle Ligon to attend that meeting with me in case I needed some technical support
Right.
in terms of what I was going to say. And during that particular meeting, I asked those pastors to let's take a mental drive through the Black community.
A mental drive.
A mental drive. And we're going to start on 4th Street
A mental drive.
and drive down 18th Avenue, heading west to 49th Street. As we take that drive, 18th Avenue,
I got it.
what do you see in terms of new development
Nothing.
or new programs
Nothing.
during the course of 1999 to present?
Mhm.
1999 to present. What do you see? Any comments? New
not-
developments, new programs.
Not much has changed because they're in the neighborhoods building houses that most people can't afford. There really are. These houses are popping up. It's not been much of a change. The
Okay.
bottom line.
All right, let's look at it this way. We have on 18th Avenue, Tangerine Plaza, but it's now defunct.
It's
That's
desolate.
right. I was going to
It's
talk
desolate.
about that.
Yeah.
It's a new development, 2005, whatever year it was, but it's now defunct.
That
Yeah.
shouldn't have failed.
Okay, let's go to the bank on 22nd Street and 18th Avenue. It's still there, the credit union. that
Credit
is.
union,
Mhm.
yeah.
But as we continue that drive, do we see anything else?
No.
No.
All the way to 49th Street. Any other new developments?
No.
All right, then let's take that same drive from 22nd Avenue, 4th Street along 22nd Avenue South, all the way over to 34th Street. What do you see? New developments?
Mm.
Anything
Nothing.
over the course of those years? You don't see anything?
I don't.
Okay. Let's take that same drive, 4th Street, along 5th Avenue South, on over to 49th Street. Do you see
well.
anything, new developments, new programs, anything?
No.
They built a few apartments, but that's about it.
But
They
I
built a few condos.
and you're right, Jamie.
Mhm.
But what is happening, what Ray is talking about,
Mhm.
the word is gentrification.
It's not happening for the people, for
It's
the
not happening for the
residents.
people.
The residents
The big
don't
companies,
benefit.
Right. They
So-
buying up land
right.
in the black community.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what it's
That's what I
happening.
mean by building things
Yeah,
that
yeah.
the residents can't afford.
Exactly.
These homes and these condos.
Well,
Exactly.
what I'm gonna get at toward the end of our drive is the money that has been coming in is going somewhere.
Yeah, it's going somewhere.
Somebody.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Who's getting this
the
money?
poverty pimps are getting it. The
Yeah.
black poverty pimps are getting it.
Okay.
Who get these grants and get this money. No different from what allegedly Rick Baker and the other guy, Kreisman, they all made promises when they were running how they're going to improve everything south of Central for Midtown, the black community. It's not been much of that. And I'm saying that's back then in their era. That's when all that money came in too. And money is still coming in and nothing's being done. And our so-called black leaders, they get these little grants for themselves and they share it amongst each other. Nothing's being, you're not doing anything for the residents. It's still the same, since not much difference from 1999.
Share
Yeah.
it amongst themselves.
Yeah, it's not different, and that's it. And
Okay, I wanna ask that we take that drive from Central Avenue along 31st Street, heading south, all the way up to 54th Avenue. Central Avenue, 31st Street up. Any new developments?
I don't see it.
Well, let's say on 26th Avenue, they recently built some condos or apartments.
Oh, my God.
31st Street, 26th Avenue, just recently
Mm.
built some apartments there. That's good. Housing. But as we continue that drive, 31st Street, do we see anything?
No.
Okay. Then let's go 16th Street. Central Avenue on down to 54th Avenue. Actually, we can go on up to 62nd Avenue. Well, no, not 16th Street. We can only go to 26th Avenue. So Central to 26th Avenue, 16th Street. What do we see? New development, new programs.
that shopping center, that abandoned shopping center, that's been kind of desolate. It has a few little businesses in there on 62nd South. There's so many things that could have been done with all the money that's coming in. And the question remains, where is the money going? Where is it going? I think it's been sitting for a
Yeah.
long time.
And that's the question that has to be answered.
Right.
Who's getting the money? What are they doing with it? Who are they helping? What's
Themselves. That's
Okay.
what they help.
All
Obviously.
right.
Well,
There are two more avenues or streets I want to ask about. Let's go 9th Street, Central Avenue, all the way back to 62nd Avenue along 9th Street. Any new developments?
No change.
Well,
I mean, you got the little thing over
Yeah,
there by the
but-
hospital that they're
but it's
working
not-
on. They
it's
put
not-
up a few little apartments over
yeah,
there.
but not significant change.
Yeah, but nothing significant.
No,
I mean,
no.
nothing that's gonna
No.
be so like life changing for the
Right,
residents of there.
exactly,
That's a lot
exactly,
of poverty up in through that. I grew up in there. There's a lot of poverty. You know, I live on Melrose. That's between got 9th Street over here, 16th Street there.
okay.
You know,
So here's the overarching question. As we stand back and look at our community over the course of these years, what is it that we can stand back and applaud, job well done, because it's helping the residents.
Okay.
It's helping eliminate poverty.
Okay.
You can't find anything
Okay.
of significance
I agree with
that you
Russ.
can
No, you
applaud.
can't. You
No.
can't.
And I'm raking my,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I'm
Right,
trying to find
right.
something good, but it's not there. So,
Okay.
But
Well-
here's what we got to realize, too, and I'm going to pick it back off what Jamie's saying, too.
Okay.
Yes, there's grant money being spent. You know, when you look at the reconstruction of Gibbs High School, the reconstruction of Perkins Elementary, the what's that thing called Pioneers Job Corps, and all that. Yeah, that's good. But I go back to what Jamie. Nothing has really helped the residents
residents,
of these
yeah.
areas, right?
Yeah.
Nothing. Now, and the reason nobody, and I know the people on the street fortunate is because they talk to me. It's hard to find affordable housing. Rent has gone up off the roof.
Mhm.
People are leaving St. Pete because they can't afford to live in
or
this
sleeping
area.
in their cars,
And they
or
can't
sleeping in their
live
cars.
anymore. Now, why? I go back to what Jamie says. Political leaders being unresponsible to the Black community. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, that statement.
yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, and that's the basis for me asking the gentleman
Yes,
the
yes.
question in the first place.
Yes.
What's the state of affairs
Yeah.
of the political and economic
Yeah.
concerns in our community?
Truly.
And we had that long discussion. And that's when he sent me this article about $200 million later. Now, I want to be fair because there is a rebuttal to that article that was sent to me. And the rebuttal was sent to me or given to me yesterday. And the rebuttal was written by a developer. And this developer stated that the article that we're talking about is intellectually disingenuous. That was the way he phrased it. Intellectually disingenuous. And he wrote a very good rebuttal.
Okay.
He got some excellent points in his rebuttal. But the last sentence in his rebuttal is the one that I want to talk about. The very last sentence in his rebuttal. And again, excellent rebuttal, great points. And the last sentence says, all of the stakeholders, the residents, the businesses, the city government, the religious community, the neighborhood associations, the sororities, and fraternities all have a role to play and need to be called upon to perform.
I agree with that.
And that's I
Yeah,
agree.
Yeah,
But,
churches, all of them.
but,
But there's a
what he
problem
said,
there.
and there's a big but,
Yeah, there's a problem.
all of the stakeholders need to be involved,
Mhm.
not just a few,
Mhm.
Yeah.
not just a small few at that. the residents, not just a few,
Mhm.
a small few at that. City government can't be focused on this group that's so deeply ingrained in terms of city government, grants, government subsidies. The religious community, not just one church
Yeah.
or two
I
churches.
got it right here.
The religious community is such a large community in St. Pete.
Yeah.
And if we were to poll many of the pastors,
Uh-huh.
they would say, no, we haven't gotten anything. We haven't gotten anything.
And that's a lie.
I'm talking about in general,
Okay.
but we do have a church or two that get the bulk of the monies. And what do? That's the question.
And see, that needs to be regulated. That needs it because this
Well,
but those churches that's getting the bulk of the money, they're in that political clique.
that's what I'm
And that's the
telling you.
problem.
Yeah.
And it
that's
needs
it.
to be regulated.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
And there are some good churches out there. Don't get me wrong. There are some good churches out there.
Most
And I
definitely.
believe that a lot of good churches, and I believe that the smaller ones are not in that clique to get the help or to do it. But that money that these churches, it needs to be regulated. And that's the problem. Because that whole church and state, now you're stepping outside that line when you're doing other business outside of the hallelujah and making money. I have a problem with all that.
I want to tell you something that aligns with what you just said. Mayor Welch came into office, I thought, with the intent to kind of isolate himself from this little hardcore group of individuals.
Click.
Because he appointed people to his administration that had people in the community questioning what was he thinking. He got all this support to get elected, yet he hired all these people that are not from our community. You know, his chief of staff, his vice mayor, then he hired a communications director. He hired a community liaison. He hired a lot of people that were not necessarily from our community. So a lot of people were talking about it. Some were saying maybe he's trying to isolate himself from that crew of people
I
that we're
see.
talking about.
Okay.
However,
Status quo.
with the resignations of so many people in his administration, that crew of individuals have crept back in a very strong way. Very strong way.
Well, here's what I look at it too, Ray and Chamey. It's always the power to be. Whoever, I notice you use the word stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? You got to ask yourself that question. Now, when I look at this whole thing and I look at the property south of St. Petersburg, which we talk about now, who controls this? The Rays. You understand what I'm saying? They control this whole operation. Now, you know, when I went back and looked at the thing, and I tried to find out this. Why was baseball so important to us? They never did anything. It was not a big economic impact upon us. The Rays, you know, was a pretty good baseball team. I grant you that. They went to the playoff 4 or 5 times. But what economic impact they had on the residents of the community? None.
And it's none.
None.
It's none.
None.
And that's typical in most cities when they have these football teams and baseball teams. It's not much of an economical impact
Right.
for the residents.
So here's what you have to do, James. You have to sell a panacea. You got to sell that.
Mhm.
And that's what they're doing, right?
Mhm.
They're selling a panacea here. Because the people that should get the profit, they ain't getting a damn thing, right? Nothing.
No.
Nothing.
They don't want to be associated with anything low income or
Nothing. No.
They don't want to be.
I want to take note of the fact that we have individuals that are in that little circle of people we're
Yes.
talking about, who are giving themselves
Yes.
titles to sell themselves
Yes.
to the white business
Yes.
structure,
Mhm.
Yeah.
giving themselves titles.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
they're getting grants, they're getting what you might call contracts
Right.
Going on.
to work with the white power structure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bullshit.
They
My thing right now is, why are the same people involved in the money grabs with nothing of significance to show for it?
Yeah.
I think we need a whole new crew of people
Yes, you
in
do.
this city
Mhm.
to represent the interests of the
Yeah.
poor.
We need some
Truly,
forensic
truly.
accounting to find out where this money has been going. And if, people do their research and if, without saying the names, it'll be you'll see the same names come up every time
Every
that's
time.
getting this money. That's why I say poverty pimps.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is true.
You know what, Jamie, I'm gonna go to this point here. During a mayoral debate, between Foster, Ford, and Kreisman, and the debate was held at Pastor Sykes' church.
Uh-huh.
The night before the debate, I called a St. Pete Times or a Tampa Bay Times reporter, Mark Puente, and asked Mark, are you going to be at the debate tomorrow morning? And he said, yes. I said, when I go to the microphone, I want you to pay close attention to what I have to say. So the next morning, I went to the microphone. Mark was sitting over there, and I read the definition of a poverty pimp to all three mayoral candidates, Foster, Ford, Kreisman, the definition of a poverty pimp. And I want to share that definition. The term poverty pimp is defined as a derogatory label for an individual or group which, to its own benefit, acts as an intermediary on behalf of the poor.
Truly.
Literally, a poverty pimp is an individual or group who solicits for the poor, or it can mean a welfare system procurer. Poverty pimps gain a higher quality of existence from exploiting the poverty of others.
Right.
I then asked those three candidates if they would be in a position to identify the poverty pimps in our community. One of the candidates was puzzled, like, what is he talking about? What's a poverty pimp? The other two quickly said, yes, they'll be able to identify them and reject them.
Uh,
But that one person who seemed puzzled, he did say he would reject them, but when he became mayor, he didn't only reject them, he embraced them. He gave them a bear hug, the poverty pimps. I asked earlier, is there anything either of you can stand back and applaud, job well done, in addressing the issues of the homeless, the poor, the uneducated in our community?
I really can.
You can.
I would like to, but and we're talking about going back to poverty pimps. You guys are just, and you know who you are. You guys know who you are, and we know who most of you are. But out of respect, we're not going to do that. But we know who you are, and you're just a bunch of black colonizers. That's all you are. You've been doing this for years.
For years.
For years and years and years. You know who you are. You got a problem with me? Come tap me. I'll tap your ass back.
Now, again and again, I did mention there was a rebuttal to the article, well-written rebuttal, and I have the rebuttal in hand. And we can't get too much into it because 30 minutes goes by fast. And we're at the end. We're at the end. And with that being said, I want to thank my two co-hosts for a job well done, as always. I want to thank the listeners for tuning in to the Ray Tampa podcast each and every Tuesday evening, 5:30 p.m. on 99.1 FM, The Bird. And we would like to, at this point, say good evening to all.